Hey guys, check it out. This is the brand new Mitsubishi Outlander plug-in hybrid, and plug-in hybrids are red hot right now. And in this video, we're going to talk about why they are red hot. We're going to take this one for a ride, and we're going to show you what makes it so special and so desirable for a lot of people. And let's start with that because, well, that's pretty important. So what we'll do is we'll start under the hood, as always. And under the hood, what makes this vehicle unique is that it has not one, not two, but three electric motors, and of course one internal combustion engine. And combined, it produces about 250 horsepower, and here's a big number, just over 330 pound-foot of torque, powering all four wheels. And in fact, the motor in the back of this is much more powerful than the front, which Mitsubishi says makes it much more rear wheel bias, which is good. Now, I get to take this video, unlike Tommy who reviewed it a few months ago, off-road. So we're gonna get very muddy in this video, but let's start with why these vehicles are so popular. And I gotta turn it on for a second here. Let me turn it on, and then let me hit this button, and let me hit this button, and I'll show you why these things are so popular. And that is because you can fill it with gasoline right there, or if you choose, you can also plug it in at home. So it's got a regular CCS charger right there, and for some, well, unbeknownst reason, it's got a CHAdeMO fast charger right there. Now I say unbeknownst because we're leaving the CHAdeMO standard behind in America. The Japanese are still using it, and this is a shared chassis with the Rogue, so I get that, but it is still odd because most fast chargers in America are going away from CHAdeMO. But let's leave that aside and let's talk about why it's so popular. And that is because it has a 20 kilowatt hour battery, which allows it to go about 38 miles on a charge. So if you think about it, if you go to work and it's less than 38 miles, you'll never have to use the gasoline engine. In fact, if you can plug it in at work and at home, you can just keep it electric all the time. Now that is why it's so popular, because you can just fill it with gas, and with a full battery and a full gas tank, Mitsubishi says this car will go 420 miles on both being full, which is pretty phenomenal, probably better than many cars that I know of. Now it competes with cars like the RAV4 Prime or the Tucson plug-in hybrid. There's also an Escape plug-in hybrid, but that's only front-wheel drive. What makes this special is it's got Mitsubishi's, let me show you, and they don't call it all-wheel drive because it's a software-based system, so they call it, well, not PHEV, where is it? Not there. Where do they hide it? Oh, there it is. SAWC, all-wheel control, so super all-wheel control. Very Japanese, but basically it means that it's all-wheel drive, and then you can allocate power based on the driving conditions, and I'll show you that once I get in the car. So we're talking about a car that you may never have to actually fill up with gasoline if you don't want to, but if you do want to, it makes it very simple. You don't ever have to charge it because you could only run on gasoline. And that's why plug-in hybrids are so popular right now, because I think a lot of people felt that we rushed into the electric car world way too rapidly. And this is a nice kind of half step, let me show you, half step into the world of electrification. So, what else makes it special? This is kind of fun. Let me show you. It is one of the few kind of mid-size crossovers with this feature. Now you're looking at the back, which is typical, right? You can put all your stuff in here. You could put probably a baby stroller, but check this out. Undo this, pull on this right there. So I undid this, so I didn't show you. Undo that, pull on this, and look at that. Voila, a third row. That's right. It's got what Mitsubishi says is 7 passenger seating. So 2, 3, and 2. Of course, it probably would help if your third row passengers don't have legs, because even though the second row seat does slide forward, that rear seat, I don't know where it slides forward. I haven't tried that out, but it does slide forward, and that rear seat is pretty tiny. So best for little kids or any people with extremely stubby legs. But it is, as far as I know, one of the few cars in this class, if not the only class, that's actually a plug-in hybrid that has third row seats, which is, you know, pretty phenomenal if you need this space in the back here. And then if you don't fold it or flip it over, what you get, check it out, is a big kind of small, like little depression in here that you can put grocery bags or potted plants or soccer balls or gear. And it's a pretty elegant solution. And like I say, once again, it's one of the few cars in the class, well, the only car in this plug-in hybrid class that has that third row. The only other car that's this size that actually has a third row that I know of is the Mercedes-Benz GLB, and that is a completely different animal from this. Now, in case you're wondering how much this costs, it starts at about $40,000, and this one, top of the line, new black roof, $50,000. And that may seem like a lot, but in today's world, it's not that much actually, because cars have gotten so much more expensive. So let's jump in here. Actually, before I jump in there, let me jump in the second row, and I will show you how I fit, because you may be wondering about that. You do have heated seats back here, which is nice, and independent third row temperature controls. Big old sunroof, and I fit. Look at that, even a little handhold. And of course, my favorite feature, the privacy screen. How cool is that? So in the second row I fit. I got in the back row. It would be hard for me to do that holding the phone, i.e. camera. So just trust me, if you're 6'2" like me, you will not fit. But here, plenty of, see, I got mud on me for when I just took it off-roading. We'll get to that in a second. But plenty of leg room, good headroom. And check this out. Not just one pocket for your stuff, but another one for your, let's say, iPad or iPhone or whatever tablet you like to use. So, good amount of room. And really what both Mitsubishi and Nissan have done, because this, of course, shares a chassis with the Rogue, because Nissan, I believe, owns like 34% of Mitsubishi, is this interior, which looks really classy indeed. I mean, fake carbon fiber, but this diamond stitching is really nice. Same type of diamond stitching on the seats. Just makes it look expensive, makes it feel special when you get behind the wheel. So speaking of getting behind the wheel, let's get behind the wheel. Oh yeah, heated seats in the front. Electric seats, which is also rare, both on the driver's side, and I'd show you, but it's also on the passenger side. And then two relatively big screens here, which give you a really colorful display. So let me power it up, and let's talk about the drive modes. So here we have multiple drive modes, which has become the thing now. So we've got, come on, you can give it to me. It takes a while. Actually, even hill descent control, which is pretty cool. But for some reason, there it is, it's changing right there. So you got power mode, and I did a 0 to 60 on this using my butt. Sorry I didn't bring the Solo DL, but I figure here at sea level, I'm just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, it's about a 7, maybe a 7.5 second car. Some people said it's faster, but I feel like that's the appropriate speed for this. Let me buckle myself up. So power, then you can go into eco mode. Let me start up again, sorry. Normal mode, that is tarmac. This is gravel, which is different from this, which is snow mode, which is different from that, which is mud mode. And speaking of mud mode, let me show you what I got to do in this vehicle in the mud. And you can be either impressed or not by how dirty I got this thing. But let's go back into normal now, put it in drive, and take it for a ride and talk about how it drives. Now, one of the things about plug-in hybrids is that you've got different ways of driving it. So, for instance, you can save the electric battery, or you can use the electric battery, or you can charge the electric battery while driving. I know that's a lot, and I know there's no such thing as a self-charging electric car, and it's actually kind of stupid to charge a battery using an electric motor, which is being driven by an internal combustion engine, but that's a whole different conversation. But you can do it in this car. Oh, finally, look, so finally we get that screen with all the different modes that I was trying to show you. So there's your energy flow, but let me show you the different tarmac, gravel, snow, and mud. And what that does is it changes where the power is sent. Now this is torque vectoring by braking, so it doesn't actually shift the power. Physically, it does it by braking whenever wheel is spinning, which is a little less expensive way of doing this sort of all-wheel drive handling, but it works. I do like this energy flow meter right now. I think it's really useful. It shows you where the power is going. So like I said, there are 3 motors. I believe there's the engine, there's a motor there, and a motor there. So 3 motors in this vehicle. And if you're wondering about MPG or MPGE, I believe officially it's in the 60s for MPGE. And then if you kill the battery, then you're in the combined number of 21 MPG. And I don't know, that's confusing, but because it's got 2 drivetrains, you have to think about it that way. So if you're running on both battery, charge it up at home, and on the gasoline engine, then you're very efficient at over 60. If you kill the battery and you're just driving it around on gas, then you're not very efficient at 21. Now, the other things I like in here is just how solid it feels. Like I said, this is based on the same chassis as the Nissan Rogue, and boy, they have done a much better job in making this feel like it's built out of one piece of metal as opposed to various plasticky and squeaky things. No squeaks, no rattles. Do love this kind of vertical line across the center. Like the steering wheel, it's thick, and it just feels like Mitsubishi has really taken this car to the next level in terms of making it much more high quality. You know, everybody's trying now to raise the quality of their cars, and Mitsubishi is no exception. And Mitsubishi does have an illustrious past when it comes to building off-roaders. You know, the Evo vehicles, obviously all the way through the 10 were some of the best WRC cars, and now they're slowly starting to get back into that. In fact, the Rally Art, their off-road racing brand, is coming back, and there will be a Rally Art version of this vehicle as well, if you can believe that, next year. So lots to come, lots of interesting stuff to come. How does it drive? You know, I do have some issues. I find that the blended braking, and it is truly blended braking, so depending on what mode you're in, the vehicle actually might use the brakes and not just regenerative braking to bring you to a stop. But it's a little, when I first got into this vehicle, it was a little twitchy. It wasn't quite, look at that, beautiful area here in Tennessee. It wasn't quite as smooth as I'd like for it to be. The other thing that Mitsubishi is very proud of, and I don't like, is that you can not basically do one pedal driving. Well, you can, but you can't turn off creep. So Mitsubishi's thinking is that they're trying to kind of nudge people into the electric car world, and so the way they've done it is they've kept the creep. So in a typical electric or even a plug-in electric car, you can turn off the creep so that when you come to a stop, it just doesn't stop. I just love driving that way. I hate having my foot on the pedal. That whole world was done back, a long time ago because people were having a hard time driving automatics. But I love the fact that if I'm not using the accelerator, it doesn't accelerate. Now you can, for instance, press this button, and that means that you're now into EV mode. So now you are using the battery only, and it will go, get this, which is pretty unbelievable, up to 85 miles an hour on the battery alone. Now that is pretty impressive because most cars, especially most plug-in hybrids, don't have that kind of bandwidth, because the faster you go in a plug-in hybrid, this is a scary house, huh? Yeah, this is like Halloween time, man. I do not want to pull into this driveway. What is looking at me there? Let me zoom in on that. Is that a cow? I think that's a cow. All right, let's get the heck out of here. Sorry. It's a little spooky house here. I suspect somebody lives there because there's a cow that's here. But yeah, I always worry about like pulling into people's driveways when I make these turns, because you know what can happen in America. Anyway, let's get back to the review. So check out these instruments. There's your speed. It's kind of this cool, like almost steampunk rotary dial. And then over here, it shows you, where the power is coming from. Let me turn off the EV mode. And now it's in save, which means you can save it for later. Let me push it again. Now it's in charge. Like I said, you can charge it, which is a really bad idea. And now it's in normal mode. So that down the left now, if I floor it, you can see what I'm doing and how much battery I'm burning and how much gas I'm burning and whether I'm charging or I'm using the battery. It's actually all really cool. I like it a lot. And for starting $40,000, and then if you take it all the way, to this level, to the top of the line model, $50,000, I think that's not bad in today's world, especially given that there's so little competition. Now, the regular Outlander, not the plug-in hybrid, of course, competes against the CR-V, the regular RAV4, and the segment that has now become the most popular segment in America, where I guess you guys just love these kinds of utilitarian crossovers. But like I said, in the plug-in hybrid world, it's kind of in its own little world. And you get this, check it out, you get a heads-up display, which, used to be something that was reserved for much more expensive cars. Now, the other thing I would tell you about it is that I recently drove by my Mitsubishi dealership, and they actually had these for sale, believe it or not. So I'm really tired of unobtainium cars, and I think this one might be something that you can actually get. Mitsubishi said that they sold their first one about 2 weeks ago in Minnesota, so the first boat of these arrived. And unlike many plug-in hybrids, they are selling them around the country, so not just like the smile states around America, so not just California and the states that border the ocean on the East Coast, the PZEV states, but they are selling them everywhere. So you should be able to get this if you're in South Dakota or if you're in California, and that's a good thing. Mitsubishi, of course, has had a reputation of, well, let's be honest about it, they've had a reputation of not being the most expensive of brands. It's been kind of the brand where if you wanted to get a Mirage, you would go get the cheapest or one of the cheapest cars in America. And I think with this, they've kind of got their mojo back, and now they're starting to climb back up kind of that desirability ladder, making for cars that people really want. And if I were looking for a car that met a lot of my needs, which is, good fuel economy, but at the same time, I didn't have to worry about cross-country driving because, of course, cross-country, as you know, we just cannonballed it. An electric vehicle can be rather daunting. This might not be such a bad option. And I'm impressed that Mitsubishi let me get it so muddy. So that's always a good thing. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments what you think of plug-in hybrids. Is this the future? A lot of you guys are Jeep fans, and as you know, Jeep is now big into plug-in hybrids with the 4xEs, both the Wrangler and the Grand Cherokee, and they're just selling the snot out of them. And I think, to be honest, I think Mitsubishi will do the same thing with this car, just because it meets so many needs. You build a car that's kind of the Swiss Army knife. So, you've got both gas, like I said, and it's starting to rain. So I fixed this, I managed to, nix this video, ended at the nick of time. So you've got a car that is both efficient and modern and 3-row and white. Anyway, thanks for watching. As always, this is Roman. I will see you guys next time. Ciao.